They don't respect you, and deep down you know it. They interrupt, they joke at your expense, they treat your time like loose change. Call it what it is, disrespect. And here's the truth no one dares to say. Every time you let it slide, you train them to keep going. But what if the power to end it wasn't in shouting louder, but in standing quieter? Not in shouting louder, not in defending longer, not in explaining harder. Imagine being a mountain in a storm. Lightning cracks, winds howl, yet the rock doesn't flinch. That's what today is about. Not desperate reactions, not endless explanations, but learning how to turn yourself into something unshakable. I'll show you 5 ways that work anywhere. In the office, around family, at dinner tables, even in the moments where a stranger thinks they can walk over you. These are not tricks, they are principles that flip the power dynamic without you saying a word. And when you reach the 4th part of this video, I've prepared something special for you, a gift you can use instantly, a simple tool that will change how you set boundaries forever. So listen carefully, because the moment you stop dancing to the tune of disrespect, you start hearing the deeper rhythm of your own worth. That's what the Stoics understood, and that's what we will reclaim here together. Now let me ask you, who is the first face that appears in your mind when I say they don't respect you? Hold that thought, you'll need it as we begin. 1. The power of the silent stare. Disrespect often comes dressed in small disguises, an interruption, a smirk, a careless comment dropped like a stone in the middle of your day. Most people instinctively fire back, raise their voices, or drown in explanations. That's what the world expects. Noise against noise. But there's another weapon, sharper than words, colder than silence itself, the stare. The long, calm, unbroken gaze that flips the game without you moving a muscle. I still remember sitting in a boardroom years ago. A man twice my age kept cutting me off mid-sentence, riding the air like he owned it. For the first 5 minutes, I smiled politely, tried to re-enter the conversation. It only fed him more space. Then I stopped. I leaned back, folded my arms, and fixed my eyes on him. No blinking, no tension, just a quiet presence. 3 seconds, 4, 5. The air grew heavy. People around the table shifted in their chairs. He fumbled his words, then broke eye contact. And from that moment on, he never interrupted me again. 3 seconds of silence can do what 30 sentences never will. Why does this work? Because people who disrespect are often searching for fuel. Your flustered defense, your nervous laugh, your angry retort. They feed on that energy. When you withdraw it, when you simply stare, you hand them nothing. Suddenly the mirror flips. They are left to see themselves, exposed and awkward. In that silence, they realize you are not their toy. You are their boundary. Here's the contrarian truth. The silent stare is not passive aggression. It's self-possession. It is you declaring without a sound, I am not playing your game. Think of a lighthouse in a storm. It doesn't scream back at the thunder. It simply shines unmoved, reminding every ship where the line is. And yes, this is uncomfortable at first. I used to laugh off rude comments, convincing myself it was not worth making a scene. But deep down, I was shrinking. The first time I held that steady gaze, I felt my heart race. Yet what filled me afterward was not guilt, but power. For once, I hadn't bent. I had stood. And no, you don't have to glare like a movie villain. This isn't about acting scary, it's about being steady. Try it this week. Next time someone crosses a line, don't argue, don't scramble for words. Just stop, breathe, and look at them. Count 3 steady seconds. Watch how the atmosphere bends. Because the truth is, respect is rarely asked. It is enforced by the way you carry yourself. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." The stare is exactly that. You don't descend into their chaos, you let them collapse into their own reflection. And every time you hold that silence, you remind yourself that your worth is not up for auction. It is already written in how you stand. So let me ask you, who in your life keeps testing your boundaries? And what would happen if, instead of arguing back, you gave them nothing but the weight of your calm eyes? If that story hit home, give this video a quick thumbs up. It tells me you want more tools like this. 2. Silence as an answer. Silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. We grow up told that if we don't respond, we lose. But here's a reversal. The loudest statement you'll ever make is sometimes the one you never say. I once stood in line at a cafe when someone behind me mocked the way I ordered my drink. Years ago, I would have fired back, maybe even turned it into a heated exchange. Instead, I raised an eyebrow, stayed silent, and let his words hang in the air. Within seconds, his smirk collapsed under its own weight. Silence became the answer, and the answer was heavier than any comeback. I've also seen this play out in business. At a networking event, a competitor I hadn't spoken to in years came up with a smirk and tossed a comment about how my company was still surviving somehow. He wanted me defensive, eager to prove my success in front of the crowd. Instead, I looked at him calmly and said, "Surviving takes no effort. Thriving, however, demands character." Then I let the silence do the rest. The room shifted, eyes turned toward him, not me. His smirk faltered because in that one sentence, everyone understood who had really lost control. If their insult needs your outrage to survive, let it starve. Why does silence work? Because people who disrespect want you to fund their drama with your energy. Every defense you give, every explanation you throw out, it pays their bills. When you don't engage, you bankrupt them. They're left holding their own poison, and poison doesn't taste good when you drink it alone. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion." Silence is that option in action. You're telling the world, I don't owe every attack a piece of myself. I don't hand out free rent in my head. And let's be real, I used to think silence meant I'd look dumb. Truth is, half the time I opened my mouth, I proved myself right. Silence is not running away, it's anchoring yourself. It's pausing long enough to let the other person reveal their emptiness. And often they do. Watch how quickly a sarcastic jab turns awkward when no one applauds. Notice how a passive-aggressive question dies when you don't supply the fuel. Think of silence as a shield. When someone fires arrows of disrespect, your words often become the surface they stick to. But when you stay silent, there's nothing to pierce, only air. Their arrows fall flat. And here's the paradox. The quieter you are, the louder their own insecurity echoes back to them. Practical step. This week, pick one situation where you normally defend yourself too much. When it comes, take one deep breath, look at the person and say, "Nothing." Let the silence stretch 3 beats, then calmly carry on as if nothing was said. You'll feel the power of choosing yourself over their performance. Silence is not surrender, it's the refusal to finance nonsense. And every pause you choose is a gift back to yourself, a piece of peace returned. So ask yourself, which battle in your life would disappear overnight if you simply refuse to reply? And stay with me, because when we reach part 4, I'll share a shift that might forever change how you see loyalty and respect. 3. Stop explaining your life. How many of your choices are still on trial in someone else's court? Take 10 seconds right now. Think of one decision you made that you keep justifying. Your job, your relationship, your lifestyle. Why do you keep handing strangers the gavel to judge what belongs only to you? I remember when I left a stable job to start something riskier. My relatives circled me like jurors. Why would you leave security? How will you survive? At first, I delivered rehearsed speeches, my plans, my reasons, my charts. The more I explained, the more holes they poked. Until one day I answered with just 6 words, because it felt right for me. The silence that followed was priceless. And it's not only family who asks for explanations. A former classmate once bumped into me and half joking asked why I wasn't chasing the corporate ladder like everyone else. I just smiled and said, because I'm building a different one. The conversation ended there. No need to justify, no need to convince. The moment you stop playing defense, their curiosity runs out of fuel. Explanation is often a search for permission you don't need. Here's the contrarian truth. People rarely ask why to understand. They ask to pull you back into their comfort zone. If you dare to live differently, your freedom threatens their routine. By demanding your reasons, they're really asking you to shrink so they can stay the same size. In social circles, it's no different. A friend once asked me why I didn't drink at a party. Years ago, I would have launched into health benefits, self-control, discipline. That night, I simply said, I don't feel like it. No sermon, no spreadsheet, just choice. His eyes blinked and the conversation moved on. My peace stayed intact. Have you noticed how much lighter life feels when you stop defending it? I used to be the guy giving TED Talks for every personal decision. Honestly, half the time I bored myself. Epictetus reminded us, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish. Refusing to explain your life may look foolish to others, but it's wisdom in disguise. Because the less you explain, the more you affirm that your life is yours to live, not theirs to audit. Think of your choices like a house. Every time you over-explain, it's like leaving the front door wide open, inviting strangers to walk in and rearrange your furniture. Soon, the place no longer feels like home. But when you close that door politely, firmly, you reclaim the space as your own sanctuary. That's what refusing to explain really is. Closing the door to noise, keeping the peace inside. Practical step. Write down 3 decisions you've made that you constantly justify. Next to each one, practice the answer, because I chose to. Repeat it aloud until the words feel natural. This isn't arrogance, it's liberation. Your life is not a courtroom. Stop putting yourself on trial, and the verdict was written the day you chose. And every time you stop justifying, you breathe lighter, as if your soul just dropped a weight it was never meant to carry. So let me ask you, which choice of yours no longer needs a witness, no longer needs an explanation, but simply needs you to stand by it? I'm curious, what's one choice in your life you're done explaining? Drop it in the comments, you might inspire someone else here. 4. Distance is respect. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe in. Now ask yourself, who drains you the most, and why do they still have a key to your life? Sometimes the most radical form of respect is distance. Not a dramatic explosion, not a public announcement, just a quiet decision to step back, to move someone from the front row of your life to the balcony, or even outside the theater entirely. I once had a longtime friend who turned every conversation into a subtle jab. My career, mocked, my family, questioned. Even the shoes I wore became punchlines. At first, I told myself, It's just his way. Maybe I'm overreacting. So I stayed, week after week, laughing off the insults. But over time, I noticed something darker. Before meeting him, my chest tightened. I was rehearsing excuses before he even spoke. That's when I realized it wasn't friendship anymore, it was erosion. And erosion doesn't stop until you move the rocks away from the water. Not everyone deserves a VIP pass to your energy. Here's the hidden law. Access is power. The closer someone stands to you, the more influence they wield over your emotions, your confidence, your time. Keep disrespectful people close, and you're basically giving them a blank check to spend your peace. Distance isn't cruelty, it's economics. Epictetus once said, if someone is mistaken, instruct them kindly. If you cannot, keep silent. I'll add, if silence isn't enough, add distance, because not everyone will learn by being told. Some only learn by losing their access to you. Think of it this way, your life isn't a theme park with unlimited entry. It's more like an exclusive club. And sorry, some memberships expire. When they cross the line, draw it darker. Boundaries ignored must become boundaries undeniable, and every inch of distance you create is really space for your own growth, room for your soul to breathe again. Practical step. Try the access map exercise. Draw 4 circles on a page. Center. Full access. Next ring, warm access. Then, limited access. Outer ring, no access. Place people where they belong, not where guilt tells you to. Because here's the deeper twist. Distance doesn't mean hate, it means clarity. It means admitting that loyalty without respect is just a slow form of self-abandonment. Distance isn't betrayal. Distance isn't cruelty. Distance is self-respect in motion. And here's your gift, something you won't find anywhere else. Tonight, write a peace contract with yourself, just 1 sentence. I will no longer stay close to what constantly makes me small. Sign it, date it, fold it, and put it in your wallet. Next time you feel guilty about creating distance, touch that piece of paper. It's not just ink, it's your own promise staring back at you. So let me ask you, who in your life still has a front row seat they haven't earned? And what would shift if you move them to the back row or out of the theater altogether? 5. Walk taller than their words. I don't have a resting, angry face. I just stopped auditioning for approval. That's the truth most people don't realize. Confidence isn't about pretending to be untouchable. It's about carrying yourself in a way that tells the world, I know who I am. Your words don't change that. Disrespect is never about your worth. It's always about their insecurity. Every insult, every sarcastic jab is really an invitation. Come down to my level. And the most powerful reply is to stay standing taller than the noise. I've seen this in the workplace. A manager once made a sly remark about a colleague's idea during a meeting, expecting laughs. Instead, that colleague sat upright, shoulders steady, eyes calm, and carried on presenting as if the comment didn't exist. Within seconds, the room's focus returned to the ideas, not the insult. Confidence redirected the spotlight. I've seen it in everyday life too. One weekend, a neighbor looked at my old car and joked loudly that I should finally upgrade if business was really going well. Years ago, I might have chuckled awkwardly and defended myself. This time I stood tall, met his eyes, and calmly said, I invest in what lasts. No drama, no apology. The words landed, and the silence after made everyone nearby glance his way instead of mine. The conversation ended, but the balance of respect quietly shifted. When your body speaks confidence, their words lose oxygen. Seneca once wrote, "No man can have a peaceful life who thinks too much about lengthening it." Translate that here. No person can walk tall if they're constantly bending for approval. The point isn't to look powerful, it's to live in alignment with your worth. Posture becomes philosophy. And let's be real, I used to hunch like I was trying to disappear in a room. Not stoic, just awkward. I thought blending in kept me safe. In reality, it only made me invisible. Standing tall is not just physical, it's mental posture. It's walking into a room with shoulders open, eyes steady, breath grounded. Even when disrespect flies at you, your stance says, "I will not shrink to fit your smallness." Their words can scratch, but they can't scar unless you bend to let them. And each time you hold your head high, you remind yourself that worth isn't borrowed, it's carried within you. Practical step. Tomorrow morning, practice the posture protocol. Stand up, shoulders back, chin level. Take 10 slow steps across the room, breathing evenly. Say nothing. Just feel how different the world looks when you rise into your full height. Do this daily until it becomes second nature, because confidence rehearsed in private becomes power displayed in public. Here's the twist. Confidence unsettles people who thrive on disrespect. They want you small so they can feel tall. But when you refuse to bow, their illusion collapses. You don't need to shout, you don't need to prove. You just need to walk as if your value is already written. Because it is. So let me ask you, the next time someone throws a dig your way, will you let it bend you? Or will you let your posture declare that you are unshaken, unbroken, and already enough? Disrespect will never vanish from the world. You've seen it in meetings at family tables, in business halls, and across fences with neighbors. But now you hold 5 ways to answer without losing yourself. The silent stare, silence as your answer, refusing to explain, creating distance, and walking taller than their words. Each one is simple. Each one is powerful. And together they form something greater than tactics. They are a philosophy of self-respect. Because the truth is, you never teach people how to value you by your defenses. You teach them by your standards. Respect that is begged rarely lasts, but respect enforced by your presence endures. And every time you choose silence, distance, or dignity over chaos, you remind yourself that you were never small. You were only learning to stand. You were never small. You were only unfolding into your full height. So carry this with you. When the noise rises, you do not have to join it. When the world presses down, you do not have to shrink. You can breathe, hold your posture, and let your life declare its own worth. Say this with me now. My self-respect is not negotiable. My peace is not for sale, and my worth is already written. If these words resonated, pass them on. Someone you know needs this reminder today. And before you go, answer this. What's the one boundary you will reinforce starting now?